This is 8.5 practice C number 12, and it's it says to perform the indicated operations and simplify. Note, this is not an equation. We are not solving for x. All we're going to do is we're going to try and simplify this by carrying out the operations that they're asking for. So, when I want to start one of these kind of problems and be able to combine all these terms, I have to get a lowest common denominator. So in order to do that, I'm going to factor the denominators of each of my terms. So I'll start with the first one. It's 4x minus 1 over, this is not factorable. So it's x squared plus x plus 1. So now I'm going to move on to my second term. So that's going to be minus 1 over 2 times x minus 1. I just factored out my 2. In fact, I'll even put it in parentheses because I like parentheses so much. And then that's going to be minus x over, now we have here the difference of two perfect cubes. I will not make you memorize this on a test. If I have something that's two perfect cubes, I will give you the formula. But the difference in two perfect cubes, a cubed, it's not a bad thing to memorize, though, minus b cubed is equal to a minus b times a squared plus ab plus b squared. So applying that to this denominator here, my a is x and my b is 1. So I'm going to have x minus 1, and that's going to be multiplied times x squared plus, well, a times b is 1 times x, so that's just x, and b squared is 1, which is nice because you can see that is the same as the denominator in my very first part of this expression. So now that I've done that, I've factored all the denominators as low as they can go. I want to identify my lowest common denominator. And that means the highest power of each term in all the denominators. So I go to my first term, and clearly, if I'm starting in the beginning here, my LCD is going to have at least one power of x squared plus x plus 1. And then I'm going to move over, and I need a power of 2 as part of my lowest common denominator. And I need a power of x minus 1. I move to my last term here, and I have x minus 1. Well, I already have x minus 1. And I have x squared plus x plus 1, and I already have that. So my lowest common denominator is that right there. Now that I know my lowest common denominator, I need to rewrite my whole big expression here so that each term has the same denominator. And I'm going to do that as like this. So I have 4x minus 1 over x squared plus x plus 1. I am missing something from my denominator. I am missing 2, and I am missing x minus 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the top and the bottom of this part of the expression by 2 times x minus 1 over 2 times x minus 1. 2 times x minus 1 divided by 2 times x minus 1 is 1. I have not changed the meaning of this part of the expression. All I've done is I've made it so that I have a common denominator. We'll expand this out in a minute. Now I go minus, and it's 1 over 2 times x minus 1. Well, what am I missing from that denominator? I'm missing that big old x squared plus x plus 1. So I'm going to multiply it by that. X squared plus x plus 1 over x squared plus x plus 1. I've just multiplied it by 1. I haven't changed the meaning of it, but now I'm getting a common denominator. My last one, I go minus, well, what am I missing in this denominator here? Well, the only thing I seem to be missing is a 2. I have all the other terms of the denominator, so I'm going to take my x over x minus 1 times x squared plus x plus 1, and I'm just going to simply multiply that by 2 over 2, which is equal to 1, so I haven't really changed a thing. All right, so what I'm going to do now, it's clear that I have a common denominator. And that denominator, I'm going to make my line here, long denominator, it's going to be a long thing here. That denominator is x squared plus x plus 1 times 2 times x minus 1. I am not going to bother to simplify that yet. I'm not going to try and FOIL that out or make it one expression, because when I do my top part and I combine some things, maybe I'll find that that's factorable and I'll be able to get rid of one of these terms by canceling it. But I don't know yet, so I'm just going to leave it factored as it is. Now I have to work on my numerator. So I'm going to start with my first term here, and I'm going to make this 2x minus 2 so that I can more easily FOIL it with the 4x minus 1. So that gives me, I start with 8x squared, and I'm going to go do my outer, which is going to be minus 8x, and my inner minus 2x, and then my last is going to be plus 2. So I took care of that term. Now my other one's kind of easy. It's minus, don't forget your parentheses. So I'm going to put a parentheses here because it's minus this x squared plus x plus 1 times 1. So it's minus, in parentheses, x squared plus x plus 1. And then my last one is minus 2 times x. So minus 2x. Well, let's get to work on the numerator now. We'll take it a step at a time. I'm going to have 8x squared. I'll leave it minus 2x, minus 8x, minus 2x plus 2. And I'm doing this step because I want to make sure I properly distribute my negative sign right there. Minus x squared, minus x, minus 1, and then minus 2x. All of that, still over my denominator, x squared plus x plus 1 times 2 times x minus 1. Let's simplify it a little bit more. Well, I have x squared here, 8x squared right there, and I have x squared there, minus x squared there, so that looks like that's going to be 7x squared. I'll cross those off my list. And then I have minus 8x, minus 2x, which makes minus 10x, minus another x, which makes minus 11x, minus 2x means minus 13x. So I got rid of all my like terms with just x. And now I have left plus 2 and minus 1. That should be plus 1. And it's still over x squared plus x plus 1 times 2 times x minus 1. Well, I'm looking at my numerator here, and I'm pretty darn certain that there are no factors of 7 times 1 that when added together are going to give me negative 13. So that numerator is in its lowest form, and my denominator is fully factored. So I am going to stop right there. I'm not going to bother to expand all that denominator out. And I am going to give that as my answer. And in fact, that is the correct answer.